Welcome to, in my opinion, 4 World of Final Fantasy. The sibling duo Rain and Lon wake up one day and while working notice that their world is looking a bit empty. They also come to realize their memory is a bit foggy. Our heroes then notice some new faces, a cute little fox named Tama and Anna, who's basically God. They fill them in that they're Mirage Keepers, which are basically Pokemon trainers, and the only way to regain their memories is to travel to another world named Grimoire, where everyone's in chibi form to recapture some Mirages. Though they come to find out that may not be as easy as they think, as an evil force known as the Bahumation Federation is trying to take over Grimoire. So it's up to our heroes to capture Mirages, regain their memories, and save the world from this federation while running into some familiar franchise faces. The game's story is a real good combination of cute and funny that had me chuckling many times while playing. If you're looking for a serious game, this is not the one, as everything is played up for laughs with probably like 1 or 2 serious moments, and even those at times have a little humor to them. Rain and Lon didn't come off as super annoying or grating, though there were a few comments I've seen that hated Lon with all their body and soul, so yeah. I will say though that the whole thing with our cute fox Mirage Tama was kind of annoying at first, but I got over it really fast. The biggest draw of this game is of course the characters from past Final Fantasy games, and I must say they are handled pretty well here in the story. They get a good amount of lines and have something to do for the most part. Also, they are all treated as they live in this world and don't act like they came from each of their respective games, which is a nice change from the usual crossover story. As someone who hasn't played a few of the old games, I never felt confused or that I was missing out on something when those characters showed up, and I still enjoyed their presence. Now for the ones I am familiar with, they did keep the personality the same for the most part. The game plays out like a usual turn-based JRPG. Just wait your turn, which is represented by the little heads on the left side of the screen, then choose what to do, be it attack, defend, or use one of your many abilities and items. The only difference, instead of teams of people, you'll be combining your strength with Mirages, which are the monsters of this world. To capture them, all you need to do is fulfill a certain condition, which could be hurting them, healing them, causing certain status effects, and so on. Once they glow, you can capture them, but it might take a few tries before you succeed. Each Mirage comes in 1 of 4 sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. This all comes into play when you start creating your stacks, which you can make one for your chibi and regular form, which the game lets you switch on the fly outside of combat. Good thing is you're not stuck using the same stack for both forms, as the game gives you some leg room. However, there is a limit in that you can't use large size for both forms, and the XL Mirages take up all the spaces of the other ones. The game lets you know what stats increase depending on your stack and how sturdy is your stack, since during combat the enemy can topple your team over, which leaves you dazed and in a much weaker state. You are given fair warning how close you are to toppling over, and you can always use an item or just unstack yourself to fix the problem. While it's great that you do have the option to unstack freely, which has the positive of giving your team more turns in battle, I personally feel it's best to stay stacked as you're way weaker apart. You're allowed to take up 10 Mirages with you. Those equipped in your stack get all the experience, while those on the side just get some of the experience. However, the Mirages left in the Prism case get zilch when it comes to experience. You do have the ability to switch out Mirages by either accessing a save point, travel gate, or while in Ninewood Hills, so the game does give you some leeway in that regard. You might have noticed that all my battles are going at light speed, and that's because you can fast forward. And thank God you can, as a normal speed is super slow. There are random encounters, and I know what you're thinking. Oh man, this is gonna be annoying. Though thankfully the encounters are nicely spread out, so you won't be taking 5 steps after a fight just to run into another one. As you battle, these Mirages become stronger, which means to be visiting the Mirage boards pretty often. Here is where you will use your SP to unlock these little balls, which increase stats and grant you abilities, as Lon and Rain don't really have abilities themselves. Though one of the things you can unlock is Mirages, which can grant them certain abilities even without having said Mirage in your stack. As you level them up, you can even evolve most of these Mirages to a higher form, as long as you fulfill the block's condition. This lets you make your Mirage even more powerful, as stats increase and some of the abilities are shared. Also, you can change between forms as long as you're in the Prism case. This is great, as you have the flexibility of going back and forth without really losing anything. You don't have to sit there and constantly think, oh man, I want to transfigure this Mirage, but I don't want to lose this size or ability, making it stress free. Once you reach the match level of sync for any Mirage, you are given a set of free abilities to choose from. These are usually a major increase in stuff like attack and magic. You can even take away whatever elemental weakness a Mirage has. The dungeons themselves are not too big and are pretty straightforward, which I prefer. You can even ride your large Mirages while in chibi form, making traveling a bit quicker. You just need to be sure you have the ability unlocked. There's even an option to have cute small Mirages hang around you that might sniff out some items. Some of these areas do have little obstacles in the way, such as a weighing mechanic that you gotta put a certain weight and element to resist the Mirage to pass through. Luckily, most of the Mirages in the area you're in will fit just fine. Then there's areas that would require you to use fire, smashing something, or floating, which is achievable by unlocking the Mirage ability and just having some Mirage in your group. These help you find some neat side treasure, or can even lead you to finding some Merc Rift, which are cubes that hold some powerful Mirages. If you have the Libra ability, the game gives you a heads up of said Mirage's level so you won't go in blind and get killed. There are also little towns you can visit with some quests, but nothing major.
She's so graceful and cute. That's it. Now I know exactly what it is I've been missing.
When you're not in the field and are back in Ninewood Hills, there are some other activities you can do. There's the Battle Coliseum, where you can take on increasingly harder battles, gaining some rewards for your trouble. And you can even capture some of the Mirages you face here as well. You can also visit your room so you can play little mini games you unlock during the story. For the most part, the mini games, while pretty meh, are harmless. However, there is one that is boring, dumb, and random. If you feel like pulling your hair out is fun, then you will enjoy this nonsense. Thankfully, during the story, when you have to play all these mini games, you're allowed to skip them after failing, so it doesn't halt the story mode for you. In the same spot where you play these games, you can also check out the Mirage manual, which shows you all the Mirages you have captured and how many you got left, which can be helpful if you're wondering how close you are to capturing them all. You can also have a look at the Who's Who manual, which gives you a little buy of all the characters you come across, even telling you which Final Fantasy character is from what game, which is a little nice touch for those not in the know. Another thing you can participate in is these quests called interventions, which are held in the tea room and show what other characters are up to, such as a warrior like dealing with a jealous goblin princess.
About her dinkiness here, could you possibly find more charming than me? If she's that special to you, I'll keep her nice and safe by imprisoning her for the rest of her life.
Tifa going wild in the Coliseum.
I can't move.
Why, you?
Bartz and Riku confusing the hell out of Ifrit, and much more. There's usually some talking and then Lon and Rain coming in to lend a hand. These are freaking hilarious and are well worth your time, as it gives more screen time and personality to the rest of the cast. All you need is some armor gems to activate them, which you obtain by just playing through the story. You also get some items as rewards for completing these quests and can replay them and get these items over and over again if you want. Another use for armor gems is to buy champion medals, which summons our Final Fantasy heroes during battles. All you need to do is fill up that meter on the lower left corner by fighting. Each medal requires a certain amount of stars you gain from the meter to summon them. Not only are these freaking awesome to look at, they also deal a lot of damage and even give you a temporary boost in stuff like attack or defense. You are only allowed to take 3 at a time, so choose what's best for you. After you buy all the medals, you can then use whatever leftover armor gems you have to trade for some seed abilities, which can be used to fill in some of the blank spots in the Mirage board. Lastly, there's a shop in Ninewood Hills run by Chocolate, in which you can buy a heap load of items. There isn't anything in the game in terms of weapon and armor, so this is where most of your money will be going to. New items do get added as you get further into the story.
I do have this funny knack for winding up in strange places.
This game looks great, not to mention it's freaking adorable beyond belief, and I'm talking so cute it would give you diabetes. The chibi character models make you go on no matter what the character is doing, and it adds to the comedy the game is going for. Cuteness aside, the models themselves are bright and nicely detailed, be it in chibi or non-chibi form. The areas themselves don't really come off as drab and boring, and for the most part keep up with the lighthearted tone the game is going for, even if some of the areas are places like a train graveyard. The voice work is fantastic as everyone pretty much nails their characters, and it doesn't come off as stiff. As mentioned, some hated Lon in his voice a lot, but I personally found no problems with it. It also seems previous Final Fantasy voice actors are here to reprise their roles, which is a good thing.
That's what she's saying, you doofus.
What are you, comedians? Too bad. If you've the brass to steal from pirates, then you know what comes next. So long, you clowns!
Sorry for those who prefer to listen to Japanese audio, as it seems you can only get it by buying it from the PSN store or having a day one copy of World of Final Fantasy. No real tech issues while going through the game, it ran pretty smooth with no frame rate drops or bugs.
By the first summoner. It's the Crimson Prophecy that came later. The whole thing is nothing but a sham.
Still, that sham seems to be the prophecy folks believe in.
I had a great time with this game. The characters and story kept me entertained and laughing. While the combat itself is pretty easy, it's a great entryway for those just dipping their toes in the series and genre itself. It can become addicting as well to capture all the Mirages. Let's not forget that even if you never played other entries in the series, the characters don't leave you utterly confused, and it may even intrigue some to go out and try those other games. There's a lot of replayability in this game, with interventions, coliseum battles, and there's even more difficult dungeons you unlock after beating the game. I beat the game in about 44 hours, and that's with only doing a fraction of the side activities. The game even lets you check out any of the cutscenes, be it story or intervention, in the theater menu. I love it when games do this, as you don't want to have to play the whole thing over to see your favorite parts. So come and dive into the adorable adventure known as World of Final Fantasy. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.